I wasn't a Christian at the time, but I would swear the Holy Spirit was speaking. My mom sewed $100 in my back pocket, put me on a Greyhound bus. She says, "I can't handle this anymore. You're going to live with your dad." So in Baltimore, we had this 1 hour layover at the bus station. Well, we pulled into the bus station. There was about 4 or 5 police cars out there, and there was about 10 kids. I had all these kids about my age lined up against the car with their hands on top of the car, and their frisk could have been everything like that. I would swear the Holy Spirit was speaking and said, "That's you if you don't straighten up." About 70%, 70 to 80% of all students in the Hot Springs School District will wind up doing something other than going to college. They're not pointed in a direction that's going to change. I want to make such a difference that if we have a program in place to teach kids how to earn a living, then we can take and eliminate some poverty that we see in our community.
Hi, everybody. This is Tom Wilkins, and welcome to TomCast. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Tom Wilkins, and welcome to TomCast. My special guest today, Pastor Doug Jones. Doug, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Well, good. We're just all cozy in here this morning, I guess it is. I lose track of daytime and nighttime. Doug, tell me just a little bit about your history, about where you raised up and everything. Where were you born?
Well, I hate to tell this, but I was born in Edison, New Jersey. And
wow. Yeah, I never would have pictured that.
Yeah, well, I worked hard to kind of put that suppressed a little bit.
Sure, I understand. Yeah.
But I was raised in a family that I guess for best term would be dysfunctional.
Okay.
And my dad was an alcoholic and
really
an abuser, and it was just a real tough childhood for me.
Wow.
Because of that, I became a kind of a disturbed kid myself.
All right.
And lived in New Jersey till I was about 16 years old. 15, I used to get in trouble a lot. And I got in trouble to the point where my mom and dad had separated, not divorced, but separated. Mm-hmm. And he had gone to Tampa, Florida. And my mom just got to the point and said, "I can't handle you anymore. You're going to live with your dad." Well, he was living in a 16-foot trailer and as an alcoholic, and I wound up going down there with him. Well, with my background and being as angry as I was as a kid, I was just determined that, it wasn't going to work out. As soon as I got there, I was going to take off on my own and do my own thing. And my mom sewed $100 in my back pocket, put me on a Greyhound bus, and sent me to Tampa. Well, when I got to Baltimore, we had
whoa. This was not the Doug Jones that I would have envisioned. First of all, put $100 in your back pocket.
Sewed it in.
Sent you. What was in Tampa?
My dad.
Oh, your dad was in Tampa.
My dad was in Tampa.
Okay.
And because of my background, she says, "I can't handle this anymore. You're going to live with your dad." So in Baltimore, we had this 1 hour layover at the bus station.
All right.
Well, we pulled into the bus station. There was about 4 or 5 police cars out there, and there was about 10 kids. And I had all these kids about my age lined up against the car with their hands on top of the car, and their frisk could have been everything like that. And it's like, I wasn't a Christian at the time, but I would swear the Holy Spirit was speaking and said, "That's you if you don't straighten up."
Wow.
So it kind of moved in me to maybe I better rethink what I was going to do.
So wait a minute, you saw these kids, but you weren't part of those.
I wasn't part of them.
Okay.
I saw them, and I recognized that if I don't straighten my life out, that's
where you're going.
Yeah.
All right.
So from Baltimore to Tampa, I practiced things like saying y'all instead of you guys.
Been there, done that, yeah. That's right.
So in the process of getting down there, once I got down there, fortunately, when I got there, my dad was somewhat sober. So I said, well, I'm not going to run off. I'm going to stay there for a while and just kind of work things out.
Okay.
Well, that was in around June, maybe July, and I was enrolled in Brandon High School when I got there. And my getaway from him and that 16-foot trailer was sports. So I got involved in every sport. I was a wrestler. I was 10 years old. I started wrestling in New Jersey. and kind of took that with me. That's been my mainstay the whole time.
Right.
And my idea was to stay out of my dad's sight more than anything by staying at school.
But he was still drinking at that time.
He was still drinking.
Okay.
In fact, he died, about 20 years ago. Let's just say in a very difficult situation.
Okay.
Because of alcohol. But
Sure.
at any rate, that was my mainstay. That's what kept me in school was sports and doing that kind of thing. From there, I met a girl after I graduated from high school.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, when I was in high school, I had this guy that every time I walked towards the gym to go to the wrestling mat, there's a guy by named Mike Kratzberger.
He was a troublemaker too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a troublemaker.
Yeah.
He had a Bible class that he was.
Oh, really?
He was doing that in the common area, and every time I walked by that room to get to the gym, he said, "Hey, Doug, why don't you come join us?" I said, "No,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
all
busy.
right. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good." But, so, at any rate, he was very kind to me, very good to me the whole time, and never downed me or anything like that.
All right.
So I went through school, graduated from high school. And then I met this girl, and we fell in love, and we started to make plans to get married. And she said, where do you really want to get married? I said, man, I don't care. I get married in your dad's backyard. It was beautiful.
Right.
I had a beautiful backyard. And she says, well, I was thinking about getting married in my church. And I, whoa, back up a minute. Oh, we're not going there. We're not going to do that. She says, what do you mean? She says, I don't go for that. I said, in fact, I believe I'm an atheist. And she said, stop the car. I said, what? She says, stop the car.
Party's over.
So I pulled over the side of the road. I said, what's the deal? He says, I can't marry you. I said, what do you mean you can't marry me? You're not a Christian. I can't be unequally yoked.
Wow.
And I said, what?
Yeah.
I'm the same guy I was 30 seconds ago that you wanted to marry and planned to marry. And now you can't marry me?
Match over.
And she just said, take me home. So I did like any typical teenager would do. I squealed the tires and I went home, drove her home, dropped her off at her house and sped off with the radio blaring and everything like that.
Sure.
Well, she meant more to me than I thought.
Oh.
And when I got home, I started thinking about it and just everything. Well, 2 days later, I happened to be going to the post office to mail something, and that's the day when you had to go to the post office to mail something.
I understand the old days.
And Mike Kratzberger was coming out of the food town, which was
The same Mike.
Same Mike.
Same Mike. Okay.
Same Mike that used to say, Doug, come on over here and
That
let's talk
little
to it.
person.
Well, I was coming out of the post office. He was coming out of the grocery store at the same time,
Sure.
face to face. And Mike being Mike says, hey, Doug, how you doing? And I don't know what possessed me to
Not
say
doing
this.
good.
And I said, well, I'm not really doing good.
Yeah.
And Mike made probably the most profound statements he could have made. He said, Doug, you know what will make it better? And I said, I know, it's Jesus. He says, Jesus won't take your problems away, but he'll help you work through them. And I said, think about that. He said, there was a guy by the name of Bob Gustafson. He used to be a farm team pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. He left the Cardinals, and he went to Valrico, Florida, which is about 5 miles down the road from me. And he started a little country church, Valrico Community Church. He said, I think you would connect with him. He's an athlete. You're an athlete. I think you guys be on the same page. He's having revival this week. You need to go by and listen to him. I said, yeah, okay, fine. And left it go at that. Well, Thursday night, it got hitting me. I said, maybe I'll go check it out. So I went to the church, and with all intention of, I'll sit through it, listen to it, and I'll be going, well, doggone if I didn't walk in the church and he hit me from one side to the other. Everything I thought, everything that I was doing, and recognized that, man, I'm a sinner and I need to be saved. And I got mad. I got up and left the services. Well, just so happens it was a dirt parking lot. And I pulled into the parking lot, and there was nobody around me when I pulled in. When I got ready to leave, I was boxed in. I couldn't get out. So I had to sit there until after church was over before I could leave. And I was just fuming the whole time.
In the car the whole time.
In the car the whole time. And just hated the whole thought about what I was going through. And that conviction just kind of rode on me all night long.
Right.
Well, I got up on Sunday morning. I went back. And
Same parking spot or
no, different parking spot.
parking spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought I might need to leave, but I went back. And same situation. About halfway through the message, I just started bawling, and I
Really?
cried the whole message through, and recognized that
I'm sorry, how old were you about at this
I
time?
was 19, 20,
Okay.
about 20. I think it was
Out of high school,
yeah, out of high school,
looking for a direction.
looking for a place to go,
Yeah.
something to do. And at any rate, I got saved that day.
Great.
Well, I went home and I called Susan, old dial-up phone back then. I called Susan and say, I know you're not going to believe this,
Yeah,
and I know you're just going to think I'm just trying to get back into your life,
sure.
but you need to know I got saved today.
Wow.
And silence, the end of the phone, just nothing. So I said, if you never want to see me again, that's fine. I just think you need to know that.
Right.
And she says, well, we're not getting back together, but we'll have lunch.
Smart girl.
Very smart. Still is smart, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know her. I know Susan. Yep.
So at any rate, after that, we got back together, and you might say the rest is history. We got married. We got married on Valentine's Day, February the 14th.
That's my mom's birthday.
Uh-huh.
Believe it or not. Yep.
And this February would be 50 years.
50 years.
50 years. We got this February 14th, then was on a Saturday. We got a rehearsal dinner on the 13th that Friday night. And the same situation coming up this year. So we're going to renew our vows on the 14th.
Oh, good for you.
And doing all that. Any rate, with all that in mind, it began to grow in the Lord.
All right.
We moved from Florida to Hot Springs. She's from Hot Springs, lived here all her life.
Oh, wow.
Was down there for
Now, what's her maiden name?
Garner.
Garner. Okay.
Susan Garner.
Susan Garner. All right.
Her dad worked for animal behavior, training animals, and he had left animal behavior, did a lot of jobs on the side, like putting shows in and that type of thing.
Okay.
And then he moved to Tampa to work for Busch Gardens. He was the director of animal training for all the Busch Gardens.
Oh, wow.
And Tampa was his home base. So that's where we met. So the company I was working for an auto parts store at the time, it's Napa Auto Parts. Well, they had sold from independent jobber to a corporate jobbership, which meant I had to start all over again in that job. And
Right.
I said, well, if I'm going to start all over, I'd always heard that a woman always goes home or wants to go home.
Right.
So I said, let's just jump the gun. We'll come back to Hot Springs. So came back to Hot Springs, and we got back here. It took us a little while, but we got settled back into her home church, which is First Real Baptist Church. And we worked our way through it. It wasn't long before I was asked to be a Sunday school teacher for some junior boys. And I sat in that class and realized these kids knew more than I did about the Bible.
Wow.
So I started studying and spent a lot of time just knowing more than I really
Trying to stay ahead of the curve, right?
ahead of the curve. There you go. And bottom line is that after a few years, Lord laid on my heart, I need to surrender to the ministry. And I said, well, okay.
Yeah.
That's a long way from
That's
where
what
I
you
come.
want, Lord.
So
I was saying about professional wrestling, but no. Go ahead.
I had to come from that point. So I surrendered to preach, and I remember when I went to the altar, it was a Sunday night, had absolutely nothing to do with surrender to ministry,
Right.
but God speaking to my heart. So I went to the altar, and I said, Lord, I'll do anything you want to do, but work with kids. I do not want to work with teenagers. I was a teenager. I didn't like being a teenager,
Yeah.
and I don't like them now. Needless to say, for 9 years, I was a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Well,
God
9
taught you,
years,
didn't he?
9 years here, and then we moved to North Carolina, and it was so total of 12 years in youth.
Wait, you moved back to her home, and then you moved again?
I moved again to go back to Bible college. Our Bible college is in North Carolina,
Okay.
in Wendell, North Carolina. I went southeastern there, and while I was there, I was working with the youth ministry in North Carolina. So 12
Wow.
years total, and then our church called me to come back, try out, to be back at Hot Springs.
So you hate kids, but you go into ministering kids.
Yes.
Right.
It's a God thing.
Well, it has to be.
Yeah. It was amazing. I remember when my pastor at the time said, Doug, we need you to move out of the youth ministry and into the adult ministry. I said, oh, no, whoa, wait a minute. I kind of like where I'm at.
Yeah, you're just comfortable, the kids.
But I had gray hair. I had a beard and mustache and goatee.
Oh, really?
And it was all gray. And I said, why do I need to move from the teen class into an adult class? He says, Doug, you went and played laser tag the other day, and you glowed in the dark because gray glows in that blue light.
Sure.
So he says, that's just one part of it. He says,
wow.
we need you in the adult class. I said, okay. First adult class I taught, there was about, I think, 35 students in the class, a very big church back there.
Okay.
And we had about 35 in the class, just, adults. Move me if you can.
Okay.
I said, well, with a group of teenagers, you just do something dumb and you got them.
Right.
So I stood on a chair.
You did something dumb.
I did something dumb, not knowing there was a ceiling fan over my head. And I stuck my head in the ceiling fan.
I've done that before. Yeah, it's kind of a wind-blowing experience.
Yeah, it is.
It hurts, too.
It was interesting is the next week we had 45 in our Sunday school class.
They came to see you do it again?
Well, actually, they came to see what I would do next.
Okay. Well, I can see that coming.
So that kind of started it from there. And then my church here that I pastor now called me and asked me to come. And I'm in my 24th year.
So you were like, how old were you when you taught that adult class? Do you remember approximately?
40.
Okay, 40 years old. So you're teaching people that are older than you. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Well, they're about the same as young adults.
Young adult. Yeah. Okay. But did you still hate kids at that time, or you wanted to go back, or you learned to love kids?
I learned to love kids.
Wow.
You see, what I did is I transferred my hatred of my youth and the way I grew up and the things I went through to all kids. And it's like I was angry with what I had to go through.
Sure.
And that reminded me of the anger. And that's why I
turned it off.
Yeah, it's transference. But needless to say, after spending so much time with kids, I learned to love kids. I learned to appreciate. In fact, we used to take our kids to Garland, Texas, to a youth conference at Levon Drive. And we used to take about 18 to 20, 25 kids. And it was during that time I began to see some growth in my own life, but I also began to see the effectiveness of teenagers and what they can do. Mike Kratzberger kind of planted that seed.
Good old Mike.
Old Mike.
Yeah.
And I used Mike a lot by sermons.
That's all right.
But the bottom line is, having seen what goes on in the heart of a child that says, I'm fully surrendering to God, has just changed my whole viewpoint of what can be done in our country. And I think we see a lot of that now taking place.
Sure we do.
But I've seen some great revivals begin in youth ministries. And the sad part is when the adults kind of gather around that, it's like, this won't last. It's just going to be a splash in the pan. And we stifle those revivals. And, that's why I feel like with kids, we can see so much more take place in our country, so much more change that's to the better and not to the worst.
I'm just curious, is old Mike still around, or? Mike,
I made a statement one time in church. I says, you know what? You ever stop to think about the person who was influential in you coming to know Christ? Mm-hmm. Have you ever stopped to tell them thank you? Have you ever contacted them? Well, my son challenged me. He said, Dad, did you ever get hold of Mike? I said, man, I knew he left Tampa. I have no worries at now.
Right.
And so he found him. He's in Houston, Texas.
Really?
And I sent him an email and connected with him then and just told him how much I appreciate his witness to me, even though I didn't treat him hospitably.
Sure.
But I appreciate his faithfulness and the way it made a difference in my life. And I told him about Bob Gussis, and he said, have you tried to contact Bob? Well, I tried to contact him. He was no longer at the church. I don't know where he went. In fact, we had a national in Forest Free Will Baptist in Tampa a few years ago, and I went back to the church where I was saved. and was looking for him, and he had been gone for some time. So I don't know if he passed away or not. But.
Gotcha. Well, maybe he's still alive, and
Yeah.
through all this podcast stuff, maybe he'll see you and say, I don't want to talk to him. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
No. But you never know how people can reconnect.
that's right.
It's
right.
It's really, and you're talking about Mike laying that foundation for you.
Mm-hmm.
What would have happened had Mike not have kept going, hey, come here.
And that's why I try to tell people all the time, you never know what seed that you plant, what it's going to do, and how it's going to change somebody's life. And my friend Ken Carney, Ken.
Oh, obviously.
He said, I'd like to be carrying around a leaky seed basket.
All the time.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's his message.
Drips of seed.
Yep.
But at any rate, all that association with kids just kind of never left. I still like kids. I still like being around kids. By the way, I got 8 grandkids, so
so you have to like them now,
I
right?
have to like them now. I love them. But at any rate, when Hot Springs started a wrestling program, I said, well, you know what? That's my way to reconnect. I love wrestling. Wrestled all my life. Tried it in the collegiate level. Tried to do, stay connected with it. I didn't have it in Arkansas when I was here the first time, but when I moved back, it was a while before they started it. So from day one, I got connected with the wrestling program. So I've been a volunteer coach now for 11 years.
Wow.
And enjoy it. Now, this year's a little bit disrupted. I was supposed to have knee surgery this year, and things didn't work out where I could have it right now. So I've got, with the campaign and everything, kind of a spotty connection with the wrestling team, but we can.
Well, we're going to take a little break here with my friend, Pastor Doug Jones. We'll be back in just a minute, and we're going to see where the story goes from there. Okay?
Very good.
This is Tom Wilkins, TomCast. Thanks.
Do you hate waking up in the mornings? I know I do. That's why today's sponsor, StrongCoffeeCompany.com, is totally relevant to us and our show here at Sweet Pea Productions. We literally live off coffee, and we couldn't do this job without it. But the difference between regular coffees and Strong Coffee Company is that they're like a health conscious thing. So they have like these special proteins in the coffee that actually make you not crash later on, which is a huge deal. If you're a caffeine addict like me, you know that like afternoon push is just horrible. So they have special coffees that have these special proteins that actually don't cause crashes and are good for you. So if you would like to get 20% off your first order, go to strongcoffeecompany.com/discounts/TomCast and use our promo code to get 20% off. And it also helps us here at the channel so we can keep buying more coffee and keep making videos for you. Have a great day.
This TomCast. Am I TomCast? I'm Tom from TomCast, and you're Doug from Do It Right Now, Doug. I want to go back just a little bit. I think it was just a few brief years ago that you were behind putting 10 Commandments back in the schools. Is that the posters?
Yeah, well, actually, it's this year.
That's what I said. It was this year.
Yeah.
My mind,
it's okay, 2025.
Terrible thing to waste.
The Arkansas legislature in 2025 passed a law about placing the 10 Commandments in the schools. It's Act 576. And what that does is putting 10 Commandments back into the schools as a historical document. A lot of folks are thinking, well, you're putting the 10 Commandments in the school, you're trying to make school a church, school a church.
Yeah, separation.
I tell them all the time, I say, hey, listen, I'd like to make the church a church, but, the hopes of doing that are not there. But the historical value of the 10 Commandments, people don't think that through. In 1607 at Jamestown, when they formed the colony there, what they did is they used the Ten Commandments as a basis for establishing rule of law, actually establishing cultural behavior and the way that they ought to act within the community. Then fast forward that a few years into 1620, when the Pilgrims got off the Mayflower. Before they got off the Mayflower, they had the Mayflower Compact, and part of the Mayflower Compact was talking about how we're going to govern ourselves. What is it that we're going to have as a code of conduct when we leave the Mayflower? And the Ten Commandments was a predominant thing that they used in order to say, hey, you don't kill. We're not going to steal from each other.
Sure.
And so it's a historical document going into the schools. And there are some things about it that will help, I think, change the attitude and the actions of kids. When I was growing up, I attended 3 different schools, Lincoln Elementary School in New Jersey, and then Thomas Jefferson Junior High in New Jersey, and then Brandon High School in Florida. And every one of those schools had the Ten Commandments hanging in them. Every one of them. And, I mean, I didn't know what they meant. I wasn't a Christian at the time. And to be honest with you, I had to look up what covetousness meant. I didn't know what covetousness meant. But I did know some of the other things, you know. The hard one that I had trouble with was to honor your father and your mother.
I understand that.
And because of my background and everything.
Sure.
And I was talking to someone not long ago about the Ten Commandments being in schools, and they said, well, there's no place for that in schools because of separation of church and state. And I said, where is that found? I said, well, it's in the Constitution. Show me where it's found in the Constitution. It's not in the Constitution. Now, it has to do with a letter that was written by Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists, where it says there ought to be a wall of separation between the church and the government. And basically it's because that there was a movement to try to make a state church in Connecticut, I believe it's Connecticut, that said that this is the way you will believe. Mm-hmm. And we just escaped that from England. So, you know, Thomas Jefferson said there's going to be a wall of separation so that the state cannot dictate how you worship. That's the principle behind it. And if people will look at the First Amendment to the Constitution, they'll recognize it says the government shall not establish a religion.
Right.
But the second part of that is nor prohibit the observance thereof. So Christianity has been around for 2,000 years.
Correct.
The school is not establishing a religion, but they are prohibiting the observance thereof. I was talking to someone else about this same issue, and they were pretty dogmatic about, well, you're establishing a religion in schools. I said, well, if you really go back to it, you start talking about establishing a religion. You know, humanism has been declared I think it was 1968 as a bona fide religion, and it has been pushed through the school system. Of course, it has beginnings back in 1943 in America, but the whole idea is, you know, believing in self-abilities and that type thing and becoming a humanistic philosophy. And if you want to talk about establishing a religion, that's what they established. I think we could carry it even in today's culture to where we talk about wokeism and you know, the Green Deal, so to speak.
Sure.
Those could all be classified as establishing a new form of religion. And Christianity has been around for 3,000 years or 2,000 years. So there's no way that you could really assign that to that.
Right.
So yeah, we were put about. In fact, every school in Garland County at this point has got the Ten Commandments in it. Now, Lakeside has been brought up in a lawsuit by the Freedom from Religion Foundation out of Wisconsin, fighting the fact that they're hanging them. But again, that's going to the state is fighting that battle, and I believe that we'll win the battle for it, and we'll be able to go back in. And by the way, just one more thing real quick is if you read the Ten Commandments the way it's up there, it says, thou shalt have no other God before me. So also said before that, I am the Lord thy God. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say Jehovah God. So if you look at it when you come in and you're Muslim, what are you going to think that's talking about? You know, I'm talking about Allah.
Sure.
So how are we offending one way or the other? But because we understand the background of it, we understand where it comes from, that's where we start throwing that in there. But
right. Let's morph a little bit into my favorite word, not politics. Now, if we break that down, poly, it means many, right? And ticks is a blood-sucking creature. So is it not commonly referred to? What brought you into that era of liking politics?
well, you know, you get to a place when you see things start to take a downward turn. You start to go in a direction that, you know, you can see is not going to be healthy. And you realize that, you know, there's a point in everybody's life where it's a matter of, I can't sit by and do nothing anymore.
Right.
I got to say something, got to do something, got to be somehow involved in the process in order to bring about, I don't want to say change, but revival. Let's say revival of the original intent of our establishment of our country. So it was a matter of you either sit back and watch it go to pot and not do something about it, or you stand up and say something or do something. And by the way, I don't think we have to be belligerent. I don't think we have to be so dogmatic that we're not flexible in some things. But we do need to stand. Was it Bonhoeffer said that, well, I'm trying to remember it exactly now, but the only, for evil to exist, it's good man do nothing. I don't know, however you want to put that. I forgot it.
Right.
And it felt like it's time to do something. So step out.
Step out. My mother was very active in our community growing up, and I always remember how she was involved, and sometimes I was into sports like you. Okay. I mean, there wasn't a sport I wasn't excelling at, because that was my life growing up. But then I saw my mom over here, and she was in plays. She was head of the PTA, Parent Teachers Association, back when I was growing up, and I didn't think much of it till later. And I'm going, wow, she really stepped out, and she put herself out there on the line. Of course, when I grew up in the 50s, that ages me a little bit, but when I grew up in the early 50s, especially, life was different. It just was. Everybody in my town knew everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have the type of background that you did necessarily, because I had some really involved parents that were involved in our life and were just model parents. I don't know how else to say that. I had an older brother, 9 years older. He was off in the Navy when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how there was a big age gap there. I guess I was, they didn't plan me, I guess, but here came Thomas, and grew up in a really good atmosphere in our community. Okay, so you have the taste, I don't want to call it politics, but for being a servant.
Yes.
You got a servant's heart, and I know that about you. Before I get into that, you're head of a group called, is it the Watchman?
Watchman.
I knew that, actually.
Yeah, no.
Never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, Watchman in Garland County, we started several years ago, and basically it was a group of pastoral leaders or church leaders. We would get together. It actually started back, if you remember the days when we had the games of skill at Oaklawn.
Yes.
And to me, that was such an out-and-out and blatant insult that you would think that you had to have a skill to play this game. And they were expanding it. So what I did is just personal investigation, you might say. I went to the gaming commission. I says, can you tell me what skill it takes to play these particular games?
Right.
And they said, no. They were dumbfounded. I said, what are you talking about?
Sure.
Why are you asking me these questions? I said, well, if it's a game of skill then there's got to be a skill that you can develop to win at the game. That's why you play the game, isn't it? So that you can win. And it says, no, we just regulate whether or not it's paying out and that doing that type of thing. That's our responsibility. So every time I went to a lot of racing commission games, meetings rather, every time they put in a new game, I tried to ask them that. What skill does it take? Here's Doug again. No,
No.
Same question.
Right.
But I got the same answer. We just regulate it. Well, how do you regulate something that you don't understand? I even made a trip. In fact, I think Ken went with me. Yeah, Ken Carney and I went.
Well, it's involved. Yeah.
The only time I've ever been in the casino was when we went in to talk to some people about how they play the game. And I remember this one lady we stopped to talk to, and I says, "Can you tell me what it takes to play this game?" And she looked at me just like I'm looking at you and did this. A baboon can do it. I said, so there's no skill involved in it. A baboon can do it.
Really?
So I went back and talked to the racing commission, gave them that illustration right there, and so the baboon can do it. And we were actually escorted out of the casino because we were asking questions.
Sure.
And my question then was, if it's games of skill, should I not be permitted to study the game in order that I might be able to develop a skill to where I can win it? And they said, get out. So they escorted us out. We never did get the answer. Of course, we knew what they were headed for to begin with. They wanted gambling, full go gambling. And we do have it. But the bottom line is that was one issue. And then there was an issue where we had Planned Parenthood came from eastern Oklahoma and said that they wanted to establish the next abortion clinic in Hot Springs. I think it would be the second in the state. And we found out about it, and I connected with Joanne Carter. She actually the one told me about the meeting. So we went to the meeting and listened to the meeting and says, guys, we got to do something. So we started a Watchman of Garland County after those two events and said, hey, listen, our county is being attacked. It's a demonic attack, and we've got to stand as pastors, as church leaders, and we got to stand on the word of Christ. We don't have to beat people over the head with the Bible, but we do have to help them understand life, what life's about. We have to help them understand that gambling is the ultimate of covetousness, of greed, and try to teach that. We have since morphed from a group meeting once a month to more of a conduit of information that we send out. When the state legislature passes some policies that are bad, we send that out to pastors and church leaders and say, we need to be praying about this issue. When something happens that's come along, we need to praise our senators or representatives for voting for this particular bill and just stand in support. We are very fortunate. I think in Hot Springs and Garland County, we are extremely, extremely blessed to have some good representation.
We do.
In Little Rock. I'm thrilled to death. Well,
some of the best ever.
Yes, I agree.
Sure.
I agree.
Well, Oaklawn, and I'm not here to badmouth Oaklawn. I'm just, it exists, and I've got a lot of friends that have worked out there, a lot of jockeys over the years, and it was kind of unique because there were some jockey friends of mine that I'm not going to drop names here, but very famous people that never bet on anything.
Yeah.
Never. I'm just stayed away from it. They were there for the sport itself. But Oaklawn was not built on winners.
No.
And it's built on people that didn't win.
It was really interesting when they had the casino before they built a new building, new structure, and had the legalized gambling. Well, it was all legal at that point.
Right.
But at any rate, there was a picture as you went into the track from the casino end that was right above the header on the door casing, and it's this guy handing over his clothes to the cashier at the window.
Oh, no.
I said, man, that ought to be on the outside of the building and not on the inside of it. And I thought that was pretty humorous. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And listen, let me just say this. I recognize Oaklawn as being a part of our community
Sure.
And they're a valuable part of our community in a sense. The thing that was getting me was the deliberate deception and trying to declare something not to be something it was not. And that's what they were.
The game of skill. Yeah.
And that's really what set me off. I understood gambling. I mean, I understand all that, but and I hate best days. Be honest.
Well, and I think most of the community felt that way.
Yeah,
you could see through it, and it was just a marketing tool that they had at the time. And Oak Lawn's got on. It's the finest place money can buy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I've been in there a couple times and gone through it, and it is a beautiful facility, beautiful hotel. And in fact, you remember Dick Antoine?
Oh yeah.
Well, Dick was arguably my best friend, and Dick and I started a thing called Spa Blast. It was Arkansas's largest 4th of July celebration. In fact, I had the truth of the matter is the tote board was out in the center, and we had the biggest family event ever on the 4th of July there. And through Dick's insight into everything and my contributions, we had a huge fireworks show, and Oak Lawn graciously let us go in there. But we had First Baptist Church had a choir of about 80 people, as I remember. And we had them up on top of the tote board at one time singing patriotic songs.
Amen.
And the optics of that, of the family stuff that we had going on in those particular, I think it was 25 years or so that we did that at Oak Lawn, and they graciously let us come in there and do it. But Dick and I raised the money for the fireworks. We raised money for almost everything. And I don't regret any of it because it's a memory that certainly I brought my children to it. And that's one of the main reasons I did. Our town needed a big fireworks show at the time. And that never let us down. And we had some great entertainment over the years and just a lot of good memories. So, but that's now gone away as you're in life for a journey, and you're in that journey for a while, and then the journey changes on you. But it's interesting to think of how you got from where you just said into politics. We kind of sidestepped that for a second.
Yeah.
Tell me about. Okay, you're running for school board for what is it? It's district. Is it
position 2?
Position 2,
Right.
And I assume you have an opponent on it. Is that correct in saying that you have an opponent for your position? I'm not going to give free publicity here, but I just want people to understand. And it's for Hot Springs High School, correct? And tell me about what that position's all about.
Okay. Well, let me first of all say that I'm not running against anybody. I am running for the students of Hot Springs.
There you go.
And the reason I'm doing that is because having worked for 10 years now, on my 11th year, with kids in wrestling, I work with kids that are not going to wind up going to college. I would say probably in the 10 years, maybe 10 or 15 wind up going to college.
Okay.
And about 70 to 80% of all students in the Hot Springs School District will wind up doing something other than going to college. So that 30% will wind up going to college.
But that's not a bad thing.
That's not. That's not. In
At
fact,
all.
That's why I'm running. Is let's get an alternative. If I could put a little bit of my background into where I'm going with this, when I graduated from high school, I actually had been offered a scholarship to wrestle at the University of South Florida until I shattered my elbow. When I graduated from high school, I lost the opportunity to go to college on a scholarship. I did not have the grades. In fact, my opponent says, her name is before, I'll just tell you, it's Cora Jones. 2 Jones is running for the same office. Can you imagine that? So, and Cora made the statement the other day, very, very funny statement. I was kind of taken back by it. She says, remember, C comes before D. And I thought about that. I said, yeah, you're right. C comes before D. And I was a D student. I was not college material. I didn't care about school. The only reason
Sure.
I went to school was to wrestle. The only time I went to school was to participate in sports. That's what kept me in. And I'm thinking about these kids that will not go to college, that really just basically want to get out of high school. And where are they going to go from here? They're going to do what I did. I struggled. When I got out of high school, my first job out of high school was roofing in Tampa, Florida,
Well,
in July.
Yeah, that's-
115 degrees on the roof.
yeah,
And my job as a kid was to sling plywood up on the roof
yeah. Doesn't
so
that,
somebody else could nail it down.
that's where I fell off the ladder once, I think. Yeah.
So my thought is, wait a minute, there's got to be a better route to take than I took.
Sure.
And that would be, let's train kids in an occupation. Let's have some vocational training. I know that we have vocational training at National Park College. I know that we're connected with that.
It's better. It's getting better.
It is, and I feel like they're doing a good job, good
Sure.
program with it. But my concern is Hot Springs School District is an inner city school. All right. It is difficult to take and get inner city school students to be willing to say, we're going to put more into your day, or we're going to juggle your day a little bit, put you on a bus, take you out to National Park, go through the vocational training there. Why can't we have a starter program within the school district? Why can't we start maybe through basic stuff like teaching what it means to be a contractor, building walls. And I used the illustration the other night about if we had a way to maybe in the 9th grade introduce students who really don't look like they're going to go to college or have an aptitude towards something other than going to college. They want to do something other than going to college. Why don't we start, let's say, for instance, in a construction program? And basically what you do is you take them in the first program and if they want to be a carpenter, let's teach them how to build a wall, how to put the corners in, how to take and put headers over doors and headers over windows, maybe make a bay a window or something like that. Just build a section of a wall and walk them through it and let them see what it's like. Have the code book so you know it's built by code.
Right.
And then from that, take them from construction of a wall into running wire, hooking up electrical outlets, hooking up switches, double throw switches, ceiling fans or something like that. Just all in this little basic area about the size of this room, do the same thing. Mm-hmm. But it runs all the mechanics and stuff through it. Then do plumbing, then do sheetrock, and just find out. That's one area. That's construction, and housing construction. And you can do that in a small area with a minimal amount of expense in order to take and get them the basics down. You can do the same thing with automotive. When I was in North Carolina, I was a manager of a Pep Boy store. I've been there 7 years, and I had a teacher from we're in the Research Triangle area there in Raleigh, and from Durham. He came over and he said, "Listen, I've got some kids in my automotive program that maybe they can go to work for you, changing tires or something like that." And I said, "Well, legally, I can't put them to work in the shop until they're out of school."
Right.
And but if you want to train someone, I can use them on my parts counter. I mean, I had 32 people I employed for that store, 12 service bays. I said, I'll put them on the parts counter. But this is what you can do. Go online and have them take ASC certification for brakes, front ends, air heat and air, that type thing. Mm-hmm. Do the ASC certifications, get those certificates behind them, then send them to me, and we'll do the application process, and I'll put them to work because they know what they're doing when they go on the parts counter. And that's what I'm talking about. Teaching them something that will take them. When I get out of high school, I've already got an idea where I'm headed. I already got an idea of what I'm going to do. I believe I've talked to Matt McKee, Senator McKee, and
Sure.
Senator Clark, and Richard McGrew, and I said, listen, is there something we can do in these areas? And I said, well, it's on the governor's agenda we ought to be able to do something. So I'm saying, why can't we start something like that?
Here?
Yeah. I think it was Mike Rowe. Yeah, it was Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe said with AI coming in, with new industry coming to America, there is going to be a higher demand for carpenters, for electricians, for plumbers, for welders, and those in the trades that will immediately go to work out of high school if they're ready. There is a company in, I think it's in Montana, it may be Wyoming, but they do heavy construction operation, and they use simulated equipment, kind of like sitting there at the table and you're driving a rig on the computer, and it teaches them how deep to dig a hole for putting in plumbing and that type of thing, and they work it all on the simulated stuff for the first semester, and then they take them out when they call the playground, where they got all the heavy equipment, and they work on the heavy equipment. And that's within a year's program. They go from simulation to driving a tractor, driving a traco, driving a dump truck or something like that. We can start something like that in Hot Springs, and it would. I don't believe it would take much, and I believe that if we jumped ahead of the game, we could probably get some corporate sponsors to come in.
I bet you could.
And Jim, the CEO for Ford, Jim Farley, made a statement not long ago. It said that they have an immediate need for 1 million technicians, automotive technicians. They have a 400,000 need for automotive mechanics in Ford only. You got Ford, Chevrolet, Chrysler, all Toyota, Honda. All these dealerships out there are competing for mechanics to get there. Don't you think that they would be willing to say, "Hey, listen, we'll help you establish a mechanics class," and it may be they'll say, "We'll help you establish a Ford mechanics class," and maybe put that in.
And the interesting thing is the jobs that you've mentioned are high-paying jobs. I wish today, I mean, I always have plumbing issues or some electrical issue or whatever. And of course, I go to YouTube like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And then after I electrocute myself later because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, it doesn't it's not rocket science stuff that the average guy with some education in what he's doing can learn these trades. And it's a lifelong thing. It'd be like me playing a piano. It's a lifetime skill, talent, if you will. And I really, when I see people that are talented in woodworking or whatever, I watch them closely, and they have honed their craft for the most. And if somebody hasn't, you'll know it pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
you know it pretty quick. But what a great idea.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
You know, there's an old Chinese proverb. You've probably heard it before. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime.
Correct.
I've always tried to tell kids that I work with, whether it's in the youth ministry, my own children, as you find the need and something that you like to do, and you do great at it, the best you possibly can, you'll never go hungry a day in your life.
That's correct.
I had a kid in my church some time ago, and he was struggling through school. I had he wasn't an exceller in education, so he fought back in the way that he knew to fight back. And we have a Taekwondo academy that we have in our church, and a lady that teaches us a 4th degree black belt and was part of our youth ministry we started years ago. And we said, why don't we get him into this particular program and try to get him tempered down a little bit, give him a release for that aggression that he's got. So he excelled. He got a black belt in Taekwondo. And I talked with him a little bit. I says, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I said, well, let's try to find out what you want to do, what you like to do. Well, it turned out he had an idea that he'd like to weld. So I had a guy in my church that was a welder. I said, hey, would you mind taking him and showing him how to strike a bead?
Yeah.
And it did, and it really struck a chord with him, and he got to where he liked it.
Wow.
Then he found out that one of his relatives had a welding company. I think it was in Mount Ida, and he went to work for his relative. And last I heard, he's doing very well as a welder, as a young man. But the problem is, we for 40, 50 years, we bought the mindset that said that you've got to go to college if you're going to succeed. And the opposite of that is, if I don't go to college, I must be a failure. And therefore,
that's not true.
It's not true. I mean, you think about Thomas Edison didn't go to college. Henry Ford didn't go to college.
Right.
I think Bill Gates didn't go to college. If he did, he went to college and dropped out. But we put all this emphasis on a higher education, and I'm not taking it away. I mean, I got a grandson that graduated from Hot Springs High 2 years ago.
But it's so expensive nowadays.
And that is the key. That's the thing that drives me bonkers. You get a kid that graduates from college, and he's just starting out in whatever industry it might be, and he's got $120,000 student debt.
In the hole. That's tough pill to swallow for sure.
But
all right. I don't mean to cut you off here, but I want to start to wind this down. I want you to tell me why. I mean, we've skirted the issue here with stories, which is great, but why do you want to get into the school board business?
I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference for kids. I'm blessed in that I've got two kids that went through Hot Springs High, or one is in Hot Springs now. One graduated. He was down at the University of Arkansas studying aerospace engineering. His education is way above my pay grade.
Right.
I got a granddaughter who's doing the very same thing, is graduating in 2 years and probably top of her class. So school has done very well for her and for him. But I see so many kids that are just floating through because they have to.
Right.
And they're not pointed in a direction that's going to change. I want to make such a difference that if we have a program in place to teach kids how to earn a living, then we can take and eliminate some poverty that we see in our community. You realize that last statistics I read was 73% of Hot Springs High School students, 9th grade to 12th grade, are in or below poverty level.
Wow.
So when they leave, are they going to flip hamburgers? What's going to take them out of the poverty level? Knowing a trade. You were talking about how expensive it is to get a plumber. Mm-hmm. I got a friend of mine that's an attorney that just retired in Little Rock, and he made a very good living as a corporate lawyer. He had a guy come and do some electrical work in his house. He said, "You realize this kid was 32 years old, and I paid him more than I made as a corporate attorney."
Yeah.
Because he had the skill level that he did.
Right.
And if we're gonna stem the tide of poverty in Hot Springs and in our country, then we're gonna have to help people to understand I don't need to be dependent upon the government to provide for my living. I need to take and learn how to learn how to fish, okay,
right,
so that I can make a living and I can be able to provide for my family. Now, I didn't go to college. I mean, I went to college, but I never graduated from college. And God has blessed me in ways that you would not imagine. And I believe that if we take the stigma away from the blue-collar mentality, I don't know what it is. We've got this mentality that you got to be a white-collar worker to be successful and not a blue-collar worker. Take that stigma away and say, I can work a job, earn a living, provide for a family, and have a very, very good life.
But one thing, too, that I've noticed through your journey here that you've told me about is you had a Mike in your life. You have a wife in your life, mm-hmm. Susan. Mm-hmm. that have guided you when you didn't even know you're being guided into what makes you up today. It's part of your makeup. And you have learned through adversities in your life. You didn't want that. You overcame them. But what I see too many times today, I used to, before when I was heavier and working in showbiz and all that kind of stuff, I
remember being introduced to you the first time as Buford, too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, baby. Thank you very much. I saw people working in fast food places. I'm not going to mention which ones. Yeah. I frequented most of them over the years that were just so unhappy. You could just tell in their jobs, even though they were making probably minimum wage. I gave them credit for working.
Yeah.
That's number one. But if you don't invest yourself, I don't care what kind of job you have, if you don't want to invest yourself in it, don't do it. Find a different path. As I drive through occasionally, and this has happened not recently because I don't do this that much anymore, but I'll drive through and they'll hand me a hamburger and a drink through the thing, and I see them turn away and just leave, and I go, "Thank you for your business."
Yeah.
These people aren't being trained right in many instances. Now, occasionally you get a Spitfire in there, and you go, "Wow, this is a good representation of this business." We got to teach our kids. We got to teach even adults to be friendlier. Life has just been such a, like this. And I look for those things. I look for those bright moments in my day when somebody says, "Hey, thank you, Tom. Appreciate your business." And I go, "I'll be back."
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of missing in our society, is just being kind to each other. Yeah. And of course, I want to see kids improve. I mentor people all the time. It's kind of, as my staff will tell you, it's kind of my ministry to help. It's not always easy.
No.
Not at all. You have, if you're a real human being, you have compassion for people, and you want them to succeed. You want them to grow, but they have to catch somewhere in there. They have to catch on to, if I do it this way, it winds up being better. Short term, maybe not.
Yeah.
Long term, it always pays off, and it's just it's a ministry, like you're in every day too.
Right.
And you know that. You're ministering with these kids.
Yeah.
You're trying to set an example. I don't mean that this is your show, not mine. Well, actually, it is my show.
Yeah.
But this is stuff in life, Doug, that's so important that we're missing today.
Yeah.
People are so tied up into running over somebody in a car or whatever, just because it's the thing to do. I'm mad.
Yeah.
Well, look where that gets you.
I've stated this before to some folks, whatever people's opinion might be of Charlie Kirk. But he made a statement that really sunk in with me.
Okay.
And that is, the reason we're where we're at is because we've lost the art of speaking to each other.
Right.
Having a dialogue. And when you were talking earlier about you don't understand the liberal mind, and to an extent I do, is because when you are so convinced that what you believe is right, that you're afraid that if somebody else says something different that's going to challenge that, I may not be able to defend it, so therefore I have to get angry to defend it so that you don't want to talk to me about it anymore.
Right.
And that's what's happening a lot. And we need to watch that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
One thing I want to draw back to about customer service, that's one thing I pushed all the time when I was in business is, listen, what do you love about David's Burgers? You walk into David's Burgers, hey!
There's 15 people saying hi.
What do you like about Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, same thing I do.
Pleasure, yeah.
Yeah, Christian organization.
That's part of the culture of that organization, and we have gotten away from that. Why is it we don't, well, I don't know. I don't know about that. Why don't we teach that in school, like you say? I walked into a business for years in Hot Springs, and every time I walk in, it's like they see you coming, they turn around. They don't want to help you. They don't want anything to do with you. I walked in not long ago, and somebody says, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I stopped in my tracks. And I turned and looked at her. Walked over and talked to her, and I says, "Do you realize I've been coming in here for about 15 years and nobody's ever greeted me when I walked in the door? You're the first one that's ever done that. I want to thank you for that."
There you go.
And
That's what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah.
I'm the current chairman, maybe the last current chairman. No, I'll be current chairman until I'm not, of a group called Toastmasters.
Oh, yeah.
And we teach public speaking, of which I used to think I was a pretty good speaker because of my entertainment days and all this, that, and the other, and found out that you're not supposed to say Oz. You're not supposed to say don't you knows, and things like that in a speech. And I go, well, that's the way I was taught to speak. It's our culture in Wisconsin, where I grew up. And they go, no, you don't do that here, but you can speak Arkansan and get away with it.
Uh-huh.
But it's the little things that groom you to be successful. Mm-hmm. And if you can, like we're doing here, carry on a conversation. I haven't heard hardly any ahs in it, except for when that's a nervous tick. You're thinking of the next thing, and it's acceptable. But it's my wife gets so mad at me because we watch a lot of news and current events and stuff, and we see a reporter on there. Well, the next thing, and I'll start counting the ahs, and she'll say, "Let me guess, that reporter said 9 ahs in their statement that they just read." I says, "No, it was only 8." and we start laughing, but it's true. We don't know how to speak anymore, and we don't know how to have communication anymore with each other. And that's one of the things that when we started this, I wanted to bring that back, is having communications with people I admire, and people that have been successful, and people certainly like yourself. I don't know how you got in here actually, but you're in that group somewhere. But we're going to have to wind it up because the old tape. We ran out of tape in the other room about 10 minutes ago. But this is going to be.
That was the good stuff.
Yeah. This is going to be on a lot of social media, and your message is going to be out there. Your journey is going to be out there, and it's so interesting to hear because I didn't know really any of this. We've known each other for years, and we're very cordial to each other, always have been, but we respect each other, and your legacy precedes you, as I hope mine does. And believe it or not, Doug, there's people out there just might not like either one of us.
That's right.
Do you know that happens?
Right. Yeah.
And being a good conservative, I can't figure out why they don't like me. But
it was a shock for me when I found out some people didn't like me. This is after my previous life.
Yeah.
And filling the pulpit, and somebody didn't like your preaching.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that was one of the best sermons I ever gave.
I said, man, I thought I did pretty good.
It was on sin, and I'm against it, right?
There you go.
Okay, all right. Well, Doug, it's been an honor having you here today. And last seconds here, your last message to why people should vote for Doug Jones.
Vote for me because I do believe that we've got a plan that will change not just the course of education in Hot Springs, but the course of people's lives. If we really buy into this program and we really try to work to see vocational training become part of the system that will make a difference, I think we can change the way the poverty level is in Hot Springs. I believe that's the ultimate goal, is to raise people out of poverty, and that's the way to do it. Teach them how to work, teach them what to do, and go from there. I know it's just a start. And I'll just say this real quick.
Sure.
And that is that it's coming. Vocational training in high schools is coming. We've already got a high school in Saline County. That's vocational high school. It's coming, and we could either be at the forefront of it or we could follow up behind. But we're in an area where I think that with an inner city school, we can take and really excel at it, and we can become so life-changing that we'll set the bar for who else follows. And I would prefer to be in front than being behind.
Doug, it's always a pleasure to be with somebody that's got a lot of vision, and our school system could use that, and we wish you well.
Thanks,
Good luck,
Tom.
my friend.
Appreciate you,
You
bro.
bet. This is Tom Wilkins on TomCast. Pastor Doug Jones here, running for school board position 2. Position 2. And that is at Hot Springs High School.
Hot Springs School District.
Hot Springs School District. Thank you for correcting me.
All right.
We'll see you next time.